Good morning, class. This do now is right out of your book. Remember we used to do in class, which one doesn't belong? What I want you to do is, this will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Try to write a statement for at least 2 of them, if not all, why they do or not belong. It could be any reason. I will share the top 4, one for each one, and we'll see if we're thinking the same thing. Go ahead and write your answers. Pause the video. Welcome back. Remember, this is just making us think about the math, really look at the number sentence and what we're looking at. This one here, we can see our b is right here. We have 3 squared plus b squared equals 5 squared. And one thing we can state is it's the only one where b is not isolated. That means b is not by itself. B is by itself here. B is by itself here. But here it is not. It's part of the number sentence. The second one, that's the only one with one term on the left-hand side. Notice all the equals come here on the right. This one is the only one that is on the left side of the equal sign. The next one, it is the only one that is not based on the 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triple. If you remember, it would be 3, 4, and 5 because your 5 would be your C. But in this case, we're looking for B. You could have come up with all kinds of reasons. You could have said that this is the only one where 3 and 5 are on the same side. Okay, this is -3. This is +3. You could have said this one is the only one with -3 right here. Okay. This one here is the only one with all numbers. It doesn't have any variables. So you could have came up with multiple reasons. We just want to try to see if we can identify things in our number sentence. Moving on really quickly, announcements. Let's get started. Please email me if you have any questions or be on the live stream. I've noticed students putting questions on the live stream outside of the time. I get back to those a little later than if you were to email me if it wasn't those times, okay? Another thing I'm noticing, some students, especially those that usually do all your work, are starting not to turn your work in. Those will go in as zeros. Distant learning is a little different. You get 5 formative points for each Excel slip and 25 summative for your tests and quizzes. Please make sure you're reaching out to me if you have questions. You must complete both the lesson and the Excel slip to get the formative 5. I generate the report from Peer Deck, and I'm noticing some students are not finishing the classwork. You will receive a 0 until that is finished. So please be mindful of those things. And this is the week that math does land with a Friday. We will have a quiz on Friday. It'll be similar to your review and added of what we're learning today and on Thursday. Today, you're going to identify the sides of the hypotenuse and the legs, and you will be able to find the missing length of a right triangle. I will be asking you to identify the pieces before you solve. You're going to find the missing length of a right triangle. And one thing that I want to point out, you don't need to write this. You already have this in your notebook, but we are going to use the Pythagorean Theorem. Hypotenuse is C, and that's what we've been solving for. But today we're going to be solving for the missing leg. We're going to be using these 4 steps. So before we get started, what I want you to do is write this down in your reference book. Please make sure you pause the video before I move on and you have everything written down. Welcome back. We are going to do these 4 steps. Again, we're going to identify A, B, and C, and then you're going to plug in the values into your Pythagorean theorem. You'll square the values, but this is where it's different here. You need an inverse operation and then take the root. So instead of just squaring and adding, you're actually doing inverse operation. Please note it doesn't matter if the leg is A or B. Really quickly, let's go ahead and practice. Make sure you write this example in your notebook. Pause the video before I move on so you have time to write it down. All right, let's get started. I am going to be using a squared plus b squared equals c squared. First thing I want to do is identify my pieces and plug them in. I can see this is the 90-degree angle. This is across from the 90-degree angle, so this will be my C. This is already labeled as B, and this will be A. If I plug in the values, 6 squared is A. I'm looking for B, and then 10 squared is C. Now I'm going to plug them in. 6 squared is 36. B squared, and then 10 squared is 100. This is where it gets different. If you notice, I squared the values, but instead of adding them, I can't. B is right here. I have to do inverse operation, like a two-step equation. I'm going to subtract 36 from each side, and that's where my B gets by itself. See, this moves over. I subtract 100 minus 36, and I get 64. Now all I have to do is take the root. What is the root of 64? Okay, it's a perfect square. This one's easy, so it is 8. Please make sure you have this in your notes. You will be asked a few questions right after this video.